It's great to be back. Hey guys, Shasta here. I'm back. Let's just say that I'm finally back. My computer's finally arrived. Hooray. And honestly, I'm gonna be doing some videos. Gonna be making a bit of a change of these, but yeah. To start off, let's for my first video back, let's look at something I do a lot. Criticising weapons in Enlisted. Let's just say, across all 5 campaigns, there's a lot of weapons I'm not really too fond of. And that's an understatement. But basically, in this video, I'm going to be looking over every campaign. And more or less just looking at, what I think is the worst weapon from each campaign. However, I'm going to do it a little bit different. Instead of just, because let's face it, it's just going to be... So, this is going to be the same weapon over and over again, and it's going to be boring, okay? That would be boring if I just... Because literally, all it would be for the Soviets, it would be Nagant Revolver every single time. And that would be a bit stupid and a bit boring. So instead, I'm going to spice things up. I'm going to do 2 rules. One, I cannot include the same weapon twice. Meaning that if I put the Nagant Revolver in for, say, Berlin as the worst weapon of Berlin, I cannot have it as the worst weapon of Moscow, the worst weapon of Stalin, or the worst weapon of Stalingrad. So, basically do that. Second thing, which I'm going to do, is I'm also going to limit the amount of attachments. Because let's face it, I could cheese it by just saying Nagant Revolver with suppressor. Instead, I'm not going to do that. So, let's say I don't like the GDP launcher. It means I can't put any other Kar 98K variant. So that means pre-war Kar 98K, pre-war scoped Kar 98K, stuff like that. Just to spice things up. It also means if I include stuff like, say, let's just say a Breda in... Let's just say I include the Breda in Tunisia. It means I can't use the Breda in... I can't say that the Breda is the worst weapon in Normandy. They'll say stuff like that. So, it'll make more sense the more we start off. But yeah, let us begin with number 10. Axis Tunisia was... Honestly, when I was looking through this, Axis Tunisia had some of the best weapons, actually. It was actually quite difficult to come for Axis Tunisia's conclusion. Because, let's face it, most of these were actually pretty good weapons. And... honestly, the obvious answer was the Breda. But that had me thinking, if I use the Breda here, I can't use it in another campaign, which I've got an idea for, where I'll be using the Breda. So I had to discount the Breda. So what does this leave me with? Well, let's just look at some of these. Like, for example, the M91 Carcano is a bit shit and is a downgrade to the Model 38 Carcano. The Panzerbushel 38 is a bit of a meme, but it's fun. It's funny to use. The ZB is not good, and let's just say these two really shouldn't exist. There should only be one of these two, and the less said about the MP28, the better. But I'm gonna go with a weapon that I think most people would not expect. I'm going to go with the OVP. Now, the OVP isn't a bad SMG. In fact, it's a decent SMG. But the problem with it is its cost. And it's basically just a limited factor weapon. Compare this to every other SMG in Tunisia. And, they just do better roles. You want good long-range fire, you use the Beretta M1. You want to use some you want mid-range engagements, you gotta use stuff like the Beretta Model 38. Even stuff like the MP40 outclass this, and it's kind of sad. The only by no means a bad weapon. In fact, this was probably the hardest one to pick. Actually, because... well, there wasn't really a bad weapon here. That being said, though, as you can see in the firing range clips, it's actually not bad, but the only thing that's worse is the is the MP28, but the MP28 kind of makes up for this by having a better reload and a just better stats in general, I think. The kicker, this is a free silver order weapon. Like, if this was two silvers, I would probably have to put this at the bottom, but honestly, it's you can make sense of using it, which is why it's only at number 10 and not 5. It's still the worst weapon in Axis Tunisia. Now let us move on to number 9. I've said it many times, Soviet Berlin has it all. It has great tanks, strong aircraft, its close quarter game is unmatched by pretty much anything. It's got good rifles and good supporting weapons, and it has a plethora of good supporting LMGs and other weapons. So, and honestly, it's got decent pistols for the most part. So, what's the worst weapon here? Well, we could have gone with the basic Mosens and stuff, and yeah, they're bad and they're basic reskins, but you don't have to use them too much because, let's face it, it's right in the early campaign. I could have gone with the rifle here because this one is pretty bad. I also could have gone with the sniper AVS because it kind of just does what the AVS does. It basically just enhances what the worst parts of the AVS. But I thought there had to be one thing, and the only real skippable weapon here is the TOS-B. Now, when the game first came out, the TOS-B was really good. Like, this thing, you know, you could shoot people and you would kill them instantly. But since that shotgun nerf of a year ago, this thing has gone through the shitter. This thing just sucks nowadays. It's nowhere near as good as it used to be, and it just sucks. Honestly, I love the TOS-B. Like the OVP, I feel bad putting it, but I have to because, well, what else is there to put? Like, do I put what else do I put here which could make it here? Which I think is kind of the shadow that this weapon is. TOS-B, it's bad, but I don't know, it has sort of a kind of okay in a way, but that's still pretty bad, and you can't hit the side of a barn with it. Like, what the hell did they do to this? I don't know, but it comes for the Soviets Berlin, and without question is the number 1 weapon in Enlisted. Anyways, let's move on to number 8. Flipping over to the same coin, we've got Axis Berlin. Oh boy. Now, what the Soviets Berlin didn't have much, Axis Berlin suffer a lot. And yeah, they really just get a bunch of meh weapons at the beginning, like the Kar-98K for once and the Kar-98K Kriegsmodell. They're not good weapons. There's not really, they've got good support weapons, but mostly basically it was a toss up between two weapons, the VG-1-5 and the MP-3008. And I'm gonna have to go with the MP-3008 for this one. Now, don't get me wrong, the VG-1-5 is still pretty bad and really should be a rifle, not an SMG. But this thing just sucks so much. Like, it's just a poor SMG, and the worst thing is you have to use it. The VG-1-5 you can skip. This one you have to use for about 7 levels until you get the MP40. Like, literally, I don't think anyone wanted the MP40 more than anyone who uses this piece of shit. Honestly, it's got a slow rate of fire. Its rate of fire is god awful. this rate of fire. And honestly, there's like fire, and it shows. Why it's coming, no question, in. And yeah, it plays easily, and yeah, something. Anyway, coming in at number 7 is actually Moscow Axis. Now, Moscow Axis, they get the short end of the stick here when it comes to the weapons, because the Soviets just get so many better weapons than the Axis. So, what's the worst weapon? Well, the MP28 obviously was a good contender. This Beretta here was a very good contender, as was the Panzerbushel 39. The ZB was a pretty decent one, but seriously, it just had to be the Gewehr 98. Now, the Gewehr 98, first off, let's get the obvious one out of the way. You can't even see it. The Gewehr 98, I have to, I'm just going to switch over to the gameplay, is a ghost weapon. I couldn't find it on this firing range map, link in the description for the firing range. And honestly, there's a reason for it. It's just, I had to use a Car 98K for this gameplay, but put it bluntly, this thing not only is it a ghost, but not only is it spelled wrong in the description, they've actually spelled wrong in the description, but also critically, it's just, well, like why would you get this when the Soviets get their second, let's repeat that, second semi-auto. This is supposed to stack up to not only the first semi-auto, but the second semi-auto. And I can't even find it. Like, what? Yeah, just it's ghost weapon, and honestly, this thing should be where the pre-war Car 98 is. If this is where the pre-war Car 98K is, I mean, I wouldn't care less. But the problem is why is the Gewehr 98 somehow a free order weapon? Like, it's worse than the pre-war, because at least the pre-war was only 2. I mean, yeah, that's pretty bad, and I've given weapons similar to this shit in the past, but man, this thing sucks. Which is why it's coming in at number 7. Anyway, let's move on to number 6. Normandy. Normandy Axis is probably my favourite faction, to be honest. And it still has one of my least favourite weapons. And if you watch my channel, you will know what it is. It's the Breda Model 30. I mean, what do I have to say about it? It's just awful. Like, it looks ugly. It fires it kicks like a mule when you fire it. Oh, the ammo, like, look at it. It's just so ugly. This looks like, I don't even know. This looks like Type 10 from fucking Elite Dangerous. And that thing is fugly as hell. If that wasn't the case, like, not only is it fug ugly, but also, like, shit. Like, honestly, who likes using this thing? No one likes using this thing. It is an awful. Probably the worst LMG that you unlock in the game. Maybe the Madden. But something like the Madden, maybe. This is usually unlocked around, like, even the Vickers and the Brent. Like, this thing's supposed to compete with the Brent and the MG13 in its campaign. And it just does not compete with any of them. Which is why, without question, it's number 6. And it's so bad it hasn't even reached the top 5. Which is speaking of top 5, let's move on to number 4. Hey look, it's everyone's favourite campaign. Yay, Stalingrad. Ugh, I hate Stalingrad. I've made it clear how much I hate Stalingrad, so let's just get this over and done with as quick as possible. Stalingrad just sucks in general, but what's the worst weapon? MP, obvious honourable mention of the MP28 is pretty much obvious that one's going to be mentioned. And, you know, maybe the Manlickers, you know, they might. And also, special mention to the Luftwaffe Drellin, the Grundwerfer, the ZH-29, the MG-42, and the Korali, and the MKB for being locked behind the paywall. Which obviously sucks because, yeah, you have to pay to unlock them. But I'm going to go with a weapon that isn't locked behind the paywall, but is incredibly shit to begin with. Take a bow, GDP launcher. You are by far the worst Axis weapon. I mean, what am I going to say with this? I've made a video on this. I've made countless videos on this. I've said this is the worst in every category. The worst rifle in Normandy. Even the worst anti-tank weapon in Normandy. And critically, it came up here as the worst Axis weapon. I mean, I might be a bit harsh because, well, it's still a serviceable rifle, but why would you even put this? I mean, why would you put this? It's pretty much just a Sheepspecker again. Oh, the Sheepspecker's cheaper! You're literally paying extra! It's actually paying extra for what? You might take out occasionally, you might take out a T60 or a Stuart or Scott more like on M10. But you know what also does that? The Sturm, the grenade, the Panzer Bushel with the grenades, the Faust, the Schmeck, the explosive pack, even jumping on some of the tanks and shooting down with an LMG does the exact same job. Like, I've killed more tanks firing at them with an LMG than I have ever done with these launchers. And they are absolutely awful. Undoubtedly the worst Axis weapon in the game, not including mortars. Obviously, I excluded mortars from this list because, again, mortar haven. Hang on, only at number 5 is for the Axis. Coming in number 3 is Moscow Allies' weapon. Now, Moscow Allies, like I've said, has one of the more powerful loadouts, and you can see. I mean, you've got 3 drum mag SMGs. You've got quite a few powerful bolt actions, and even a powerful and arguably the best lever action in the game. You've got early semi-auto. The semi-autos in general are pretty good. The AVS is overpowered, and you also get you get the best anti-tank rifle in the game. You get one of the better LMGs in the game, and you get some pretty decent LMGs alongside it. So, what's going to be here? Well, obviously, the main answer most people will be like is, oh, you've got to pick the Nagant. But no, like Berlin, I'm saving the Nagant for later. Instead, I'm going to go with a gold order. Now, a simple person, someone who's looked at this and we're like, oh, who's going to be talking about the Badan? No, I'm not. The Badan can kill people. Yeah, this weapon just sucks. Like, it is awful, and I mean awful. The Mosin suppressed just, why? Why does this exist? I'm pretty sure everyone knew that if you've used this or you've seen people use this, you knew that this would come in. If you used this during the gun game event, which I unfortunately couldn't get a chance to play, thanks a lot, computer, then you would probably have seen that this thing is very, very strong. Very, very strong in being crap. But, you know, as bad as it is, it's not even top 3, okay? It is poor. Firing it at the firing range on this thing felt awful, and I generally just hate it, but honestly, it's not the worst weapon in the game. It's still incredibly awful, and it's a waste of a gold order, but it's not the worst gold order, is it? Coming in at number 3 is gotta be Tunisia Allies. Now, Tunisia Allies is a campaign that has it all. It has really good LMGs. It has fantastic SMGs. It has fantastic bolt actions and some very good semi-auto options. So, what's going to be the worst weapon? Now, most people will probably say the A4, the M1 Carbine, or the Winchester, or even the Colt New Service, because let's face it, the Enfield number 2 and the Webley are actually both pretty decent pistols, actually. But, nah. I'm going to have to think outside the box, and that means the Delisle Carbine. If you haven't seen one of his videos where he was using this thing, Napoleon Total basically hated this thing. Honestly, Napoleon Total doesn't swear at all in his videos, but he was effing and blinding at this thing. This thing sucks, okay? This thing just sucks. And also, Napoleon Total, I know you've got a gold order. Delisle Carbine's waiting. Honestly, you shouldn't expect much with this thing. It sucks. And I mean, it sucks. This thing just is so awful. It's an easy contender for the top 3. And honestly, just looking at the footage, it was so bad using this thing. And honestly, it was an easy contender for the top 3. In fact, I generally thought that this would be number 1. But then I looked at what I wrote down for the other 2 campaigns left and thought, yeah, this is not number 1. Speaking of that, let's move on to number 2. And now we have, arguably, back onto the worst campaign in the game. And it's coming in number 2. And I know what everyone's thinking. It's the Nagant. He's finally talking about the Nagant. No! I'm not putting the Nagant on here. For reasons like this.
Dear, it seems I spotted a cunt.
I got killed with the Nagant revolver!
Beautiful.
Yeah, honestly, the Nagant, it's bad. Don't get me wrong. The Nagant is awful. It is one of the worst pistols in the game, and using it just feels like you want to shoot yourself with it. But it's not even the worst weapon, because it has a suppressed version. Oh, the suppressed Nagant just easily comes in as the worst Soviet weapon. And honestly, it is just awful. I think the best thing I've ever seen someone do with this play, the best play I ever saw, was when my friend Tony shot a guy from halfway across the theatre on the Stalingrad map and managed to headshot a dude and killed him instantly with it. But yeah, what is there to say about it? It's got a poor rate of fire. It's got probably the second worst damage for any pistol in the game. It has the arsiest reload of anything. Killing someone with the regular Nagant is a challenge. Killing someone with this thing is just as bad. It has reduced muscle velocity because of subsonic ammo and stuff like that. And of course, the suppression. And also, since suppressors don't really work, when they work, they don't really work, this is easily coming in as the worst, not even the worst Soviet weapon and the worst Stalingrad weapon, but it's coming in at number 2. That's right. There is a weapon in the game, I think, that is worse than the suppressed Nagant revolver. And let's talk about that right now. It's not surprising that the faction that is number 1 is the faction I've got the most playtime with. Yeah, Normandy Allies comes in at number 1 with the worst weapon, and you might be thinking, what is it? Is it the Colt New Service? A weapon I've already put as one of the worst weapons in the game, but I put it as the worst pistol in Normandy. No. Is it something like the Grease Gun or the Winchester? Weapons I have smacked for a year now. Nope. Is it the Carbine? Is it the Sniper Garand? Is it the A4? Again, nope. Is it something like the Bazooka? Or is it... Am I just going to put a fast on and throw in every single mortar? I'm actually not. Again, like the last 3, I'm going with the Gold Orders. And it's not the Peterson device. And neither is it the S&W light rifle, the Smith & Wesson light rifle. It's going to be the Railwad Suppressed. I'm pretty sure this pistol is a meme. Like, it is just... It's as bad as the Nagant. In fact, it's probably worse than the Nagant. Like, it's a bolt-action pistol. Let me rephrase that. It is a bolt-action pistol. Honestly, saying the word bolt-action pistol feels like an oxymoron. Like, it just feels bad using this thing. Like, pistols are supposed to be great at close quarters. This thing just sucks. And honestly, it is no surprise it's coming in as the absolute worst weapon in the game. It's coming in not only as the worst weapon in Allies Normandy, it's coming in as what I think is the worst weapon in the game. Anyways, I'm going to end this video here. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Leave your thoughts in the comments. It's great to be back. The range I used for the ink for some of the weapons will be in the description. Check it out there if you want to test out some weapons. Not only that I fired, but also some other weapons throughout the game. Like, there's some interesting stuff there. And there's also some tanks there, so, yep. Anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in the next video.